We've made it to the last pillar, guys, and I've been on this journey with the same mentor for 4 years. I'm so excited to share it with you. Okay guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video. This week we're talking about the last pillar, the spirit pillar. I'm really excited to wrap this series up. We've got one more bonus video next week. I'll talk about that at the end. But this week we're doing our last pillar, spirit pillar, which is all about all of this internal stuff, your mind, your body, your heart, your soul. It all comes together for me in this last pillar. And we're talking about one of my favorite people, someone that I've been following and listening to as a mentor for years and years. That's Jennie. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about all of the stuff that you can get Jennie wise. She is the founder and woman behind the vision of If Gathering. This is a annual event that is hosted in Texas and globally in people's homes all around the world once a year in the spring. We do a live broadcast which you can watch for free that weekend every single year, and she has speakers and music and people who do poetry, and they do different cause videos, different things that are important for global needs, whether that's international justice mission or other things like that. They highlight different organizations that are helping to further women, like Noonday, which gives a platform for women in other countries to sell their own handmade products and make a profit to take care of their family. So If Gathering itself is a whole video we could do, but I wanted to give you kind of a roundabout of what If Gathering is as a whole. So If Gathering is this event that happens once a year that you can go and get tickets to go to in Texas. I think, is it in Austin? It was in Austin, now it's in Dallas, or I have that backwards. Anyways, it's in Texas. Or you can watch it for free at home on your laptop, or you can find an If local in your area and get together with other women and grow and be hugely blessed. So that one is like the big piece of the If stuff. Underneath that and inside of that, there are things like If Local, where you can do and get together with women in your area. They call that If Table in the off season, and so that's an option that they have. You can go to iftable.com. I'll have tons of links below for all the If stuff, but that one gives you prompts once a month to get together with some women over dinner or at home and actually dig into some deeper stuff and just be intentional once a month with really asking each other hard questions, or just questions that will help you expand and grow internally. There's also If Military, which focuses specifically on the military in our country and their spouses or their family members. I don't know a whole lot about that one because I haven't looked at it myself, but I did jump on it the other day, and there's all kinds of resources there, so that one will be below too. There's also If Equip, which is the weekly, everyday email that gives you devotional. It's a daily devotional during the week that you get right in your inbox. I use that one a lot. That one's one of my favorites. That one is, I would say, like the toe in the water of If stuff. If you want to get started and see what they're about, that's the one that I would start with to kind of see what the If stuff is all about. I'm sure I know there's always more If stuff going on, but those are like the big pieces. If Gathering, If Local, If Table, If Equip, and If Military. So you can look at all those links below. The other thing that Jennie does, she is also a speaker, author. I would call her a general teacher, mentor, powerhouse woman. She has a new podcast which has only been out for a couple of months. It's called Made for This. It's a spinoff, or is kind of related, came from the idea of her Made for This book, which is the most recent book that she's published. I'll leave all of her books below. If you have read any of her stuff, let me know below. She has stuff all the way back to her first book, which was Anything, all the way to this last one, which is Made for This. But the podcast is new and I love it so much. If you listen to deep, intentional, spiritual based things, then one, you're gonna love this. Two, it doesn't fluff, in my opinion. There are plenty of times where she'll have a conversation with people, but she also just goes straight into the word and talks about it, and talks about how it's applicable to us and our relationships and how we interact with people in our tribe. So I find it to be very actionable without being super long drawn out, which is fine in its own way, but hers are, I would say, 30 minutes or less on the average. There's one or two that are longer, but most of them are 30, maybe even 20 minutes and under. So it's a really good small bite-sized just encouragement, and I find her stuff, a lot of the times, she goes straight to the heart of things. If you follow her on Instagram or anything like that, she's very direct and just like, we don't have time to fluff around and say stupid stuff. Like, let's just get into it. Let's just be disciples, take care of our family, further our mission, all of that stuff. And so it's very pure and simple. I feel like that's a big thing that If has focused on, especially the last couple of years, of just like, what's the main point? And it's definitely something that you can see in her podcast and in her recent writing, that that's just the way that she wants to act and put out her mission and her message to the world. Side note, she's also a fellow Razorback. She's a U of A alumni just like me. So if you have the same thing I do, where you just nerd out a little bit anytime anyone that you look up to has just like the littlest thing in common with you, comment woo pig below. Another thing that she's done in tying with her book, she also has done a lot of Bible studies. The earliest one I believe was called Chase, and then this most recent one is Proven. It goes with the book, Nothing to Prove. So a lot of times she'll have a book and then a companion Bible study, and then a book and then a companion Bible study. I've done Restless, I believe was the one that was called that I did, and I haven't done Proven yet, but it's on my list. But I love her Bible studies. I think follow in that same line of her stuff being very actionable and realistic and really easy in the sense that it's simple, not in the sense that the topics and the conversations and the things she's asking are easy, because usually it's a lot of hard stuff. I mean, she really doesn't mince words. She just digs into the things that she wants to teach you, but it's definitely simple things that you can actually take and use in real life. And so I love her Bible studies specifically for that reason. Okay, lastly, we're going to talk about my specific journey with Jennie Allen and kind of like how all of these different things that I just talked about affected me and my kind of trail through her stuff. So 2014, I was in the middle of school. I had just had this huge void of spiritual like vacantness. It was never a question of believing or not. It was more like I couldn't emotionally attach to what my faith felt like. It was just this blankness inside of me where I knew I believed. I still walked the walk and talked the talk, but I didn't feel it on the inside. There was just something really weird going on with my emotions, and just spiritually there was something missing, and I didn't know what it was. And so through different things going on that year, I happened to connect with someone that I knew from church, kind of, but not very well, and she was doing a If event that was a If Pray. So every usually in the fall, I don't know if they do it in the off season, but every once in a while, usually once or twice a year, they'll have an If Pray, which is the same kind of thing where there's a simulcast or a guided prayer where they will, for the one that we did that first year, 2014, I believe, it was like we prayed globally, we did worship, we would pray for our specific nation, we did more worship, and then we prayed for our city, and then we did worship, and then we prayed for ourselves individually. So it was a guided prayer event. And so I went to Bonnie's house and met a bunch of people there. I actually met someone there who is part of our adoption story. If you want to learn more about that, there's probably a link below. I don't remember if it's a blog post or if I did a full video on the whole adoption story. I know there's a blog post. But that was the first entrance into If things, and the seed was planted for me to meet someone who was very instrumental in us getting on the road to our adoption. And so, unbeknownst to me, I was just like, I'm gonna go to this thing. I'm just trying anything to get to feel what I want to feel again. And that began this beautiful journey with Bonnie and her Bible study girls, and created this amazing relationship. And so 2014, I did my first If Pray. 2015, I watched the If gathering over on the website. It was we have one now that we do every year locally that I usually help with, but that year I had just started and there was one a few cities up, and so I watched most of it online, and it was an amazing event. I always get something out of the people that talk at If gathering. Usually there's one or two that just like God knew I needed, and that year it just got me moving and thinking and going. And so 2015 was the year of Bible study. We went on a retreat, which was the first time someone anxious like me had just like been like, okay, I've met maybe 3 of these people. I knew a few of them through church, and I knew a few of them kind of well, but to go off on a weekend when I didn't know everyone was just mind-boggling for me. I know God was in that. And so for me, If and Jennie was the beginning of this relationship with these women that I still talk to and that I still have an interaction with, that I see and get to talk about real things, study the Bible, talk about life problems, people that I could call anytime if I needed to. So that is one really strong line that Jennie started for me. A year or two later, we did the Restless Bible study together in that Bible study group, and that one was really good for me. It's definitely restless, that anxiety thing. It was a perfect fit for what I needed, so I did that Bible study. I've read a couple of her books along the last couple of years. I haven't read all of them yet, but I have most of them. And her stuff is always impactful and very just like any other friend, like to me a sister, because I don't have any immediate grew up with sisters, to just have that person who's like, sis, like you need to think about these things. These are important. Like God loves you, I love you, and you can keep going and you can do better. And it's not, you're not doing a good job. It's, you are amazing and exactly who God made you to be, and he has more for you. And so I love her Bible studies and her books for that. And so the last 4 years I have been doing her books, doing whatever Bible studies I can, listening to her whenever she speaks, all of that kind of stuff, and following her social media and her blog and just kind of the writing she's been doing. Now she has a podcast, which is amazing. It's so encouraging and like advocating for you to like do stuff. I say like so much whenever I'm really excited. It's so hard to get spirit stuff out in words. I feel like I think that we can get internalized because it is so internal and super personal, and a lot of times we worry about it being divisive, but this is just my journey. You don't have to agree. That's just what I have walked through. So that's the spirit pillar. A lot of that is very much in making the time every day to walk the path that I have set in front of me, as far as whether that's praying consistently or reading my Bible or doing a devotional or sitting and trying to think about how I can continue to disciple and minister and like just be light and love to other people. That's something that I try to do, and I find following her stuff to be one of the sustainable levels of marker of checking myself to making sure that I'm doing more and continuing to push myself. So I highly recommend her. That's kind of what she's done for me and how I've gotten to this point. So I want to know, who do you think of that you can call on when you're in the trenches? Because that's the biggest thing I feel like, is that community, having the village, having your tribe, people you can call whenever you need support or you need someone to come push you off the bed and get you moving. Let me know if you've got someone in mind below. Tag them if there's someone that is here on the space, and then follow me on Instagram this week. I'm going to be going through these different if things that I touched on very briefly and some of her Jennie's content herself, and just highlighting how those things are useful and how I apply them into my week. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Check out next week. We're going to be doing the bonus mentor map video, so I look forward to that, and I will see you all next week. Bye guys.